You're listening to the B2B Revenue Executive Experience, a podcast dedicated to helping executives train their sales and marketing teams to optimize growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. Let's accelerate your growth in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everyone, to the B2B Revenue Executive Experience. I'm your host, Carlos Noche, and today we're talking about the alignment of marketing with sales, customer success, and product. Marketing can be the spearhead of any go-to-market strategy, but it needs the entire organization to be successful and to deliver measurable results. To help us out with that, I'm excited to have Kaminski here today, CMO of Lakeside Software. Kim has worked at a number of different market leaders, such as ServiceNow, where we initially met on the rollout of Vortex Prospect to the global sales development team. Kim, thank you for being here today.
Hey, Carlos. So great to have this conversation with you. Looking forward to it.
All right. So here's the warm-up question of the day. What's something that you're passionate about that those that primarily only know you through work might be surprised to know about you?
Well, that's a great question. And I would say I am super passionate about music and the arts. I love to play and make music. I'd love to listen to all kinds of music of different genres and styles. And I'm a big supporter of the arts in all of its forms. So, when I travel, one of the first things I like to do is get out, walk through a neighborhood, and try to find a local artisan or two to visit with. And I just really think that art is so much a part of culture, and it really helps us understand people at a different level. So that's my passion.
I love that. And I didn't know that about you. So that's awesome. My
Yeah.
better half used to be a ballerina, and
Oh, wow.
she's much more into the arts than I ever been. And I guess, the saying is true, opposites attract.
Yeah,
So
I love the ballet. It's awe-inspiring. It's one of those art forms that is just so integrated, right, with dance and music and acting, and it's just awe-inspiring to see some of the challenges that dancers go through to just keep their bodies in shape to be able to perform so beautifully. So kudos to her. I love that.
she says it takes a tear, it wears on you over time. So sometimes
Yes,
we'll
I
have, we'll,
can.
we'll have some fun stories together.
Yeah, I
Now,
can believe it. Yeah.
for our audience, tell us a little bit about yourself, Kim. Give us a little bit about your background and what got you to this point of success in your career.
Sure. Well, I am a native Chicagoan and born and bred in the Midwest. So we're, I think, kind of known for our hardworking spirit, and came from two parents who were both very, very hard workers. My mom was a special needs teacher, and my dad was in the trades. And so, I watched my parents work really hard, and I think I got that work ethic from them. Have always really appreciated my craft. And so I started out in the marketing communications domain, if you will, straight out of college. I was really a writer and producer, more on the creative side. And through working in a number of companies and agencies, kind of flip-flopped a few times between companies and agencies, really learned how to be a good marketer, I think, because I think at the core of marketing is great communication and great storytelling. And the other thing that I like to say is that I've been in tech marketing as long as there has been technology. So when I got out of college, and I'll date myself a little bit, but that's okay. There were no computers, right? We were still using typewriters, and there were no cell phones, and those really kind of came into being when I was just fresh out of college in my career. So it was this perfect storm of learning how to be a great marketer, but also learning technology at the same time. And that's what I love about being a tech marketer is there's always something new. And where we are today with AI is the proof of that, right? It keeps changing and evolving. So, I think it's important to learn your craft as a marketer and be kind of that Swiss Army knife to kind of know all the domains of marketing. But as a tech marketer, it adds another layer to it because you have to get really smart about your subject, right? And that takes a lot of curiosity, and again, I think great storytelling and great communication.
I think that's great characteristics no matter what your role is. So I think that's really good.
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
serious question because I lived for 7 years in Chicago out of
Sure.
college. Favorite Chicago pizza?
Oh, well, a lot of people like the deep dish. I would have to say there are a couple of pizzerias locally that have super, super thin crust. Unfortunately, my favorite pizzeria was called Ray's when I was growing up. They no longer exist. So now I would have to say it is a pizza made at a restaurant called Cortino. It's a super thin crust, more kind of the Naples style pizza. However, close second would be the deep dish pizza at either Lou Malnati's or Gino's.
Fair enough. I grew up in New
There you
York,
go.
so people always like, I can't believe you like Chicago pizza. I go, I love them all.
Yeah, Detroit pizza is really good too. If you've never tried that, the crust is really unique, and the sauce is like super sweet. So if you get a chance to try Detroit style pizza, give it a try. It's really, really good.
Well, one of my favorites is still Illuminati's from Chicago. And it's not that it's just deep
Yes.
dish or not. It's just something about the combination of the crust, the sauce,
Yeah.
the toppings. I still get it shipped to me every year. I'll order some, and sometimes I'll
Yeah.
send it out to friends because it's just one of my favorites. But all right,
It's a great gift. Yeah.
sorry to digress. Maybe it's
That's
I'm just
okay.
hungry
It's
today.
always a good time to talk about pizza, Carlos,
Topic of the day. I'm a
Yes.
huge firm believer that alignment is key. We mentioned marketing, sales, customer success, and product. Help me out. Give me some of at least your top level strategies and why,
Sure.
some of those four main, I know it's more bonus, but those
Yeah.
four main components.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the go to market, used to be thought of, and still in some organizations today, some big organizations think of go to market as just the sales team, the sales facing feet on the street. I think in the last, I don't know, 5, not maybe 10, but 5 years in particular, I'm seeing a trend where there's like this go to market diamond where marketing, sales, product, and customer success come together, build the go to market strategy, and work really, really closely together to make that strategy manifest. I think customer success is kind of relatively new to the team, if you will. But when you think about it, it's not only critical to have customer input when you're cross selling and upselling and understand how to add more value, but I mean, the customers that are using your product are the people who are going to continue to inform you on what is going to continue to make them buy more of your product and help you grow your market share. And most good companies today are really investing even in customer marketing functions where the more marketing and product are doing things like user groups, customer advisory boards, really investing in getting close to their customers because that's where the majority of the revenue comes from, right? Yet sometimes we forget to stay close and be friendly with our customers. And so at Lakeside, these four teams work really, really closely together. And we use Teams and we're in a Teams channel constantly all day, every day. Today, we've been collaborating over a topic in Teams throughout the day related to our customers. And it's marketing, it's sales, it's product, and it's CS related to our customers. And so I think that, being close to your customers, understanding the value drivers, really continuing to understand new use cases, drives that cohesion. And sales can't sell without that. Marketing can't deliver messaging and programs without it. Product can't build great products. So why wouldn't we all be working together in unison and having that orchestration?
Love that. And I couldn't agree with you more about customer success. I think
Yeah.
sometimes they get I don't know what the right word is, right? They
Right.
get pushed down in an organization and they
Right.
think of it from more of an adoption or technical perspective,
Right.
where in reality they should be talking to the executive staff on a quarterly basis or whatever the
Right.
timing is about the value that their products are having for the customer, or at least somebody's
Sure.
has that conversation. How are you all able to actually do that higher level conversation with your customers?
Well, I think, back to what you just said, I think sometimes people confuse customer success with customer support. And they are usually in the same function, but they are different teams within the overall customer success function, or they should be, in my opinion. And I think, using the example of Lakeside, we have a very, very strong customer success team, and they do have the frontline relationship with our key customers. We do, we try to really get in and understand the customer value drivers. In fact, we have this service called Value Blueprints, which when we get into a customer, we go in and really try to understand almost kind of like the journey for the customer, really understanding what the use case was that for which they bought the product, but then identifying new use cases, because our platform, you can have hundreds of different use cases. So the value is to really understand how to take that customer forward and keep them exploring new value drivers with the technology. Not to the exclusion of sales. So sales and customer success have to work really closely together. But I think you do have to also clearly define the roles and responsibilities between sales and CS, and then make sure that internally those two teams are really talking together, but in service to the customer, right? Really, really creating long-term customer lifetime value together.
So internally at Lakeside is customer success and maybe sales as well. Do they kind of represent the voice of the customer as you all make decisions on product direction or, marketing strategies as well?
Yes, I think primarily customer success and sales, but product is also in close relationship with customers. So the product management team is also in close relationship. So we try to create internal channels of communication where, even though sales and CS might be the primary connection points with customers, there are other points of intersection. So, for example, our VP of corporate communications on my team speaks a lot with customers. Why? Because customers are involved in some of our marketing activities. So it gives marketing an opportunity to understand and actually interact with customers, and get them involved in the day-to-day activities of marketing. So we don't try to prevent other groups, but I would say, yes, we have that front line, which is CS and sales, and then bring in the other groups in context of how we need to work with any given customer at any point in time.
I think that's fantastic. So many times when we talk about alignment across an organization, what I see a lot of times is people give it lip service,
Right,
but then they all hunker down into their individual bunkers. In fact,
right,
even just, the way you just talked about how marketing, product, sales, and customer success actually engage real customers. I know it sounds like, oh, duh, that's obvious. But
right,
I got to tell you, I think so many organizations don't. They get so busy in their own internal processes that they
right.
don't go that extra mile to really engage their number one asset, which is their customers.
Right.
Are there ways that you folks have found to make that a priority at Lakeside?
Well, I think it sounds really cliche, but I think it is customer first, right? Our customers are some of the best brands and some of the most important organizations in the world. Our technology really is part of their infrastructure. And so we have to be close to them, not only from a practical standpoint to make sure that the technology is working on a minute by minute, day to day basis, but really to make sure that they continue to understand what we're doing and drive value from our product. Because again, I mentioned that our technology has a lot of different use cases. I think that for us is the real value, is really continuing to stay close to the customers that have our solutions and understanding how they're using it in their different day-to-day business cases, and then share that learning with other customers to try to help them uncover the same value. So we try to, we're not strictly industry focused, but we do play heavily in financial services and healthcare and a couple of industries where the infrastructure is complex. And so there are some common use cases in those businesses that can be shared, and that different customers can kind of take advantage of. Again, because our technology is part of their infrastructure, it has to be stable and working for them. So we have to play a huge part daily in becoming almost part of their operating team, right? So for some of our biggest clients, there are a few dedicated customer success people who are really, really focused on them. Why? Because their infrastructures are really complex and it takes a lot of time, and it's a very intricate, delicate balance to make sure that they're happy and healthy. But everybody else kind of plays a part in that too, right? The whole team is in it. Our CEO is in it. Our chief technology officer is in it. Our CCO is in it. The whole leadership team. When we do kind of big rollouts and big changes, and the ELT is on a Teams channel, and when anything happens we're all in it and monitoring the situation and talking about it and resolving it together. And when anything new is going to happen, making sure that we're literally all on the same page in the same space in terms of how we're going to communicate to the customers what this means for them.
Kim, you shared with me this mantra about being all in, this deep commitment on all
Right.
sides.
Yeah.
Can you share some examples of this level of commitment at Lakeside
Sure.
or in your experience?
So all in is not just a statement. So this year we just had our sales kickoff. And
Congrats.
we had our keynote speaker was a gentleman named John Paul Gonzalez. And if you haven't heard of him, I encourage you to look him up. He is kind of an advisor now to a big NFL team. And he kind of happened into this role. He's also, his primary job is he's a history teacher in New Jersey. And he is just a phenomenal human being. And he developed this kind of all-in mantra, and I won't steal his story. You'll have to kind of watch it because it's really cool. But we had him at our kickoff, and we walked out of the kickoff kind of holding hands, saying, we are physically, literally, spiritually, emotionally going to be all in. And we talked over the course of our kickoff about what that means to be all in. And it is about humility. It is about trust. It is about patience. It is about persistence. And it's about kind of being on the same page philosophically that, we are in it to win it. Everyone's rowing in the same boat. And the other big mantra that our CCO uses is the enemy is not in the room. And so many times, you mentioned earlier that teams kind of get in their silos and friction can ensue because someone will say, well, you're kind of all in my stuff. When that starts to happen with us, we try to pull back and say, time out, like the enemy's not in the room. We are all in. And all in can mean we have to have a tough conversation, and it's okay to debate, but we're going to do it in a healthy space and in a spirit of winning as a team, because no one wins alone. And we actually use those words on a day-to-day basis. When we're in meetings, we verbalize it, we say it, we write it. Words matter, right? Words create the culture. They create the behavior. They can demotivate and they can lift people up. And so for us, we use it. We don't just say, oh, we're all in. We use it day after day after day. And the last thing I'll tell you is in John Paul's keynote, one of the things that he taught us is he had created like a coin, like a betting chip. And when you lay down your betting chip, you're all in. And so at our tables, at our kickoff, we had these chips and we all threw our chips in and said, we're all in. We kept our chips in our pocket or on our desk or whatever to remind us that not only at work, but in life, we are all in. So now we have this physical token to remind us what that means to be all in. And we've gone to great lengths. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but we've gone to great lengths to make sure that we didn't just have it as like a kickoff theme, but it was really going to be part of the culture moving forward.
I love that. I mean, so many organizations just give it what I call lip service.
Right.
And then they kind of falls apart. And sometimes the way they're aligned or measure success becomes counterproductive to the goals that you're trying to do. How are you all measuring success within your organization?
Sure. Well, so each function in the organization has KPIs, but how we got there was back in October, when I first started with Lakeside, we met as an ELT, and it was time to start 2024 planning. And so we got together in a space for a couple of days and developed our go-to-market strategy. We used a kind of a framework that we had all agreed upon, and we had a facilitator help us keep the session very focused, very interactive, very collaborative. We looked at kind of what we needed to accomplish in 2024 from a sales, from a revenue, from a product, from a partners, all aspects of the business. And really came up with a go-to-market framework and 5 kind of company core goals. It ended up being kind of 6 things now that the CEO is really passionate about. But those 6 things, each function has to align to those corporate goals, if you will. So my marketing goals have to align to the corporate goals, but then I have to look and see, once my peers have mapped out their goals, how do I align my goals to their goals? So for example, product maps out their goals, and then their goals align up to the corporate goals. But I now need to do like a cross matrixing of my goals to make sure that I'm aligned with product, sales, CS, partners, et cetera. And then from there, we have a pretty formal process. We use a platform called Bamboo to track and manage our goals, and it's got checklists, and we make sure that they're SMART goals, and we set milestones, et cetera. And we just drive that level of rigor, right? So we're just finishing up kind of goal setting, finalizing our goals right now, even though it's kind of end of Q1. We're finalizing our goals for the rest of the year. Everybody's getting their goals in the system. And then it's the leadership responsibility to make sure that we're kind of towing the line towards achieving those goals. At the end of the day, our core drivers are really growth in terms of EBITDA, revenue, profitability, right? We're a PE managed company by Insight Partners. And so profitability is very important to us. And customer sat is another big one, right? Customer satisfaction and retention. So I would say those are the two big ones. And then each of the organizations, the functions, has their goals aligned to that. Of course, we have goals around people, right? We want to have the best people. We want to retain our people. We want to make sure our people are trained and productive. So it's not to exclude the other goals related to people and product, but the big metrics really are around, I think, customer retention, existing customers, and then acquiring new customers and growth and profitability.
And I also like the fact you mentioned, hey, how your goals are kind of helping other departments kind of achieve theirs. Because,
Right.
sometimes I think organizations think of things way too like a line, which it's not. And that's like, marketing is, creating a brand and attracting
Right.
to the top of funnel. Sales is now working that, that funnel and trying to get it to closure. And then we closed it. And I think that's, hey, in a SaaS model, that's like 20% of the battle. Now you
Right.
got to actually implement, fulfilling that promise to that customer and
Right.
find a way to get this flywheel going. And everybody else, like product, also wants to know, well, why'd they buy from us originally, and how'd it go? And,
Yeah,
what are their
exactly.
expectations? And it might be outside your department a bit, but how are you folks able to kind of set up those implementations and, customers, the initial customers, up for success throughout your organization?
I think we're a SaaS model, right? So in terms of implementation, we have an implementation team that goes out and helps the customers start to use the product, right? I think I'm going where you want me to go, but if I'm not, tell me.
No worries.
I think it's about, again, it goes back to communication, right? It is the spirit of alignment where it may be the job of the implementation team and CS and solution consulting to do that. But there's an obligation back to the rest of the business to help us understand how things are going with each and every customer. So we've spent a lot of time, at least since I've been here at Lakeside, really talking about how we can better keep each other updated on what's happening with certain customers. And we have systems and processes to do that. I would say largely it falls on that customer success team, but we spend a lot of time meeting in different functional groups to make sure that we are sharing those insights on a regular basis. And it can be as simple as, our head of CS can be out on a visit with a customer, and he comes back and he writes a short report either in an email or posts it in the Teams channel for the ELT. It can be as simple as that, right? It's more the spirit of, if I'm visiting with a customer or I'm learning something from a customer, my obligation is to share it back to the rest of the organization. And the
I'm with,
how you do that, I think, is different within each organization. We're a small company, so sometimes it's easier for us to just use Teams. Sometimes it's email. Sometimes it's putting it into a system like a Confluence or OneDrive.
sometimes organizations say, Carlos, we're looking for a sales framework or methodology. And I know that's not necessarily important, but it impacts you. And what I try
Yeah,
to remind folks is, hey, listen, nobody wants to be sold. What we really need is a cross-functional communication framework so that we can
right.
communicate better, not only with our customers, but across the organization. And that's why I said
Yeah,
it's not linear, because, even after marketing and sales work with someone and services implements it, and now you have customer success talking to them, we all want to know, how's it going, right? At
right.
every aspect in the process. And I love
Right.
the fact that you guys, as you're having meetings with the customer, you're sharing it back across the team, not just within the
Right.
siloed departments. I think that's great.
Yeah, we do have, I mean, our system of record is Salesforce, right? So our CRM is Salesforce, but sometimes Salesforce isn't the most, everyone doesn't have access to Salesforce, right? And we have Confluence and we use other kind of documentation systems like SharePoint. We're a Microsoft company, right? So we use their technology. But sometimes it's just easier again to, if you're coming home from a customer visit, we do this a lot. Salespeople do this a lot. Our head of solution consulting is really great about this. Is just take a time to shoot a quick email with a one paragraph summary. Here's a quick meeting report. Went to this customer. Here's what's happening. And then the spirit of that is it's shared with the whole executive leadership team. And then it's my obligation to share that with my team, and we all cascade relevant information down. So we try really hard to make sure as an ELT when we're meeting on a regular basis to really talk about what's the information that needs to be cascaded out to the organization and to whom. And then we do things like we have all hands meetings and other regular communications forums where we try to get the whole company involved in what's happening and share relevant information. It's easier for us because we're a smaller company, but I think you could do the same thing at more of a divisional level if you were in a bigger company. Like in my last role, I was at NS1. We were acquired by IBM, and there was a question that you had posed to me earlier about, give me a good example of a company that is aligned. I was so surprised in my short time at IBM when I was helping NS1 integrate into IBM how well aligned they are, despite the fact that they are a company of hundreds of thousands of employees, but they've got a great framework for doing it, and it requires just top down and bottom up, the philosophy and the spirit of alignment first, and always thinking about who do I need to be connected to at this point in time and who needs to know this information.
Yeah, and I think it's even more critical than ever, especially with more people working at home and everything else around it. The art of communication is more critical than ever if you want to
It
drive
is.
alignment.
It
All right,
very much
question.
is. Yeah.
So, question for you: what advice do you have for our listeners that may find themselves in an organization where they're not very well aligned, where they
Right.
kind of have some
Yeah.
silos? Any advice or steps that you would recommend them to take?
Well, I think first of all, it's the spirit of it, it's nobody's fault, right? It's really, really easy. We're all busy. And especially when you are in a fast paced environment like technology, for example, it's busy. There's a lot to do. The competition is fierce. The pressure is high. The market demands have changed. Buying demands have changed. And so I think, again, it's the attitude like it's nobody's fault. But I am of the mindset that I'm always going to be the olive branch extender, or I'm going to try to be. And if each person had the attitude of, I'm going to be the olive branch extender, then we would all be extending those branches to each other. Somebody has to start it. So I would say that's the first thing is just be the olive branch extender. Don't worry about whether it's your job or not. Just extend the olive branch, because then somebody's going to reach back. Someone has to do it first and then people will reach back. I think the other thing is, it does take patience and humility and empathy. Patience is something that I'm always working on to balance patience with passion. And it's going to be a lifelong quest for me. That's kind of my Achilles heel, if you will. But I think it does take humility, realizing that I don't know everything, so I have to extend the olive branch because I can't be successful unless I have my team around me and we're all in it together. We're in the same boat, rowing in the same direction. And I think just patience and persistence, because sometimes it's hard to affect that change, but you just keep trying day after day. And I think, have those hard conversations, but, try if you can to get face to face with people. That helps too in this kind of environment. We try really hard to at least get together quarterly at different functions to have that time face to face where you can work through some of those more difficult alignment issues that are hard to do on video, right?
Agreed. Because sometimes
Yeah.
there's a lot of miscommunication in email, for example. And although
Yes,
we all know it, sometimes we're all running so fast and so quick.
exactly.
We're, we react and we just send out an email and
Yeah.
then it gets misread and it causes
Right.
this whole downward spiral. Now, I wasn't laughing at you earlier, by the way, when you said patience. I was really laughing at myself because my sweetheart would say it's a skill set that I have never mastered, but I continue to work on.
It's tough, right? Because, as a marketer, we are a high producing organization. We have a lot of things going on at any given time, and we're creating and sending and writing and producing. And it's a large volume of work and a lot of plates spinning in the air. And sometimes you get that expectation from other groups in the business, like, why isn't this done faster? Right. So it's easy to get in the mode of thinking speed, but I like to say, let's make sure we're picking our heads up from time to time and looking around and kind of surveying the landscape and seeing where the alignment isn't happening. And if it's not, then let's be the ones to reach out. And even if, we feel like, something is right or wrong, again, it's not about being right or wrong. It's how do we continue to foster the culture of alignment and being all in it together.
All right, Kim. So a personal story in my career, I worked for this executive. I was part of this executive team, and we tried to have some good alignment between us. I think it's great that you and your leadership team all have committed to this. I love the all-in concept. I will tell you, one of our downfalls is at the core of it, we really had a mistrust with a few of the players. And any advice on, and I'm blaming myself. Maybe I never got over my mistrust of a couple of the players, because it seems that that's critical to try to have this all-in type of mentality going into it. Any advice there?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is, Carlos, you and I have been in this a long time, and we know that sometimes it just is not going to work. You can try and try and try. And then at some point in time, it becomes a law of diminishing returns. And sometimes it is just not going to work. Personally, I feel like that's the time when you have to kind of ask yourself, is this the right place for me to be? If I really believe that this is what I need to succeed, and this is the environment that I am most happy and productive in, and where I can make my biggest contribution, and I need that to succeed. It's happened to me a couple times before where that didn't manifest, and I had to walk away from a couple situations. And it's hard because you can see how it could be if
Better.
like the stars were all aligned and everybody was on the same page. But the reality is relationships are complex, and sometimes the stars don't all line up, and it's not always going to be perfect all day, every day, right? Don't get me wrong. At Lakeside, we have our conflicts. We're humans, right? But I think we do a really good job of trying to work through them. And I think the tone is set at the top. So our CEO and our CCO, the whole team in particular, but in particular our CEO, he makes it real clear what he expects, and he sets a really high bar, and he doesn't have patience for his ELT not being aligned. And he makes that real clear. It's like, get aligned, get on the same page, do whatever you have to do. And I love that because it's real. You just know where you stand and you know what's expected of you, right? But at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't work. And we have to learn the lesson and walk away and go find a place where it does.
It ended up all right. 15 years ago, I ended up here doing what I do today. So I guess it ended up all right.
Thank goodness for that.
But it did take me a while for that light bulb to go off. And at the end of the day, kind of to what you said, I was kind of like, you know what? It's me. I know what you all want to do and are trying to do, and I'm not the right person for it. So I have to find a different opportunity for myself. And that got me out of it. Kim, this has been a great conversation. We like to end our podcast with this acceleration insight. What might be that one piece of advice, be it business or personal, that you would share with our listeners that might make them as successful as you are?
I would say, have your eye on the long game, but play the short game, right? Because consistency is really key. So every day, try to do something that's going to advance you and your team and your company forward. Keep the eye on the big picture, but know that the consistency of taking those small steps every day is really what's going to help you be successful. So just show up every day and be in it to win it every day.
Perfect. Love it. Every time I do one of these podcasts, I learn something. So Kim, thank you for that. If people want to know more about Lakeside, or they'd love to talk to you more, what might be the best way for them to engage with Lakeside or yourself?
For Lakeside, you can look at us at lakesidesoftware.com. or we actually have a new hashtag and microsite called AI-that-speaks-IT.com. But Lakeside Software is the easiest. And then I'm happy to connect with anyone on LinkedIn, either through you or directly on LinkedIn. So would love to do that.
Kim, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Carlos.
That was a great podcast. And all right, folks, that ends our episode for today. Thank you all for listening in. If you want to check us out, you can check us out at www.b2brevexec.com, or just take a listen to us on your favorite podcast platform that you like. If you find us on iTunes, please give us a 5-star. We appreciate it. I'm Carlos Noche, and until next time, I wish you nothing but the best success.
You've been listening to the B2B Revenue Executive Experience. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.